Civilization series. In parts 1 to 4, we have covered the fantastic recent discoveries of structures on the continent, including a castle or fort-like structure, a giant staircase, and even a pyramid. We have also explored the voyages of Admiral Richard Byrd, followed by the fantastic claims that the Nazis may have set up and operated a base there during and after the Second World War. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe. But with that being said, let's get straight into part 5. Okay, so today not only are we going to be diving into ancient history, but we're also going to be taking a tour of the globe. We'll be connecting the dots by looking at pyramids around the world, their similarities, and how they connect to the possible recent discovery of a pyramid in the Antarctica. Mainstream archaeology and scientists refuse to accept theories of a historically connected global civilization, but as you will see, the evidence for an ancient connected world is becoming hard to deny. If you have your own theories on ancient civilizations, let me know in the comments. But now, let's dive straight into the Antarctica Pyramid mystery. Many have asked what the structures in Antarctica are. Some suggest simply rock formations. But look at these pyramids and how they looked before excavation, before simply assuming the new findings are nothing but rocks. Firstly, we see the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico. Firstly, we see before excavation, and now as they stand today. Or the gigantic White Pyramid in the ancient Chinese capital of Xi'an, yet to be excavated due to strict Chinese excavation laws, and potential conflicts with mainstream versions of the historical timeline. Finally, the almost totally unexcavated Bosnian pyramids, referred to by archaeologist Samos Managic, which have yet to be granted authority for an excavation to begin. Even if these pyramids were only hills, why would the European Union not let people excavate the area to find out? Next, I want to demonstrate the similarity of pyramid types around the world, from South America to the Far East. How could supposedly unconnected civilizations build such similar structures? Is it possible a global civilization existed in the distant past? And could this connect the structures in Antarctica? The architecture of all these sites is so similar to one another, although they were said to have been built in totally different time periods. How could this be? Here we see pyramids in Mexico, Egypt, and Cambodia. The similarities are extraordinary. Surely anything but a lucky coincidence. Now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Samos Managic, who talks about pyramids across the globe, advanced technology, and his efforts to uncover the Bosnian pyramids. If you find this short talk interesting, a full lecture can be found on YouTube explaining the pyramids across the world.
In the 21st century, we will realize that the world of the past was the world of the pyramids. Not only Egyptian and Mexican, that's just the beginning. They are built on all 6 continents. In China only, we have 250 pyramids in the Shanxi province. In Indonesia, Western Java, 23,000 years old pyramid. We have them in Cambodia, northeastern part, Koh Ker pyramid. Also around African continent, the island of Mauritius, 7 pyramids. We have them on Canary Islands, 103 pyramids. We have 155 in Egypt, 224 in Sudan, 43 pyramids in the island of Sicily, tens of them on the island of Sardinia, 5 of them on Italian soil, 16 of them on ancient Greek territory, before ancient Greece. We have pyramids in southern France, we have them in Spain, 3 pyramids of Palencia. Of course, we have Central American pyramids, tens of thousands of them. Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize. We have 300 of them in Peru, Pyramids in Bolivia, 4,000 meters above the sea level. We have over 200 Cahokia pyramids in the state of Illinois. The pyramids to be found in Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, on the bottom of the Caribbean, on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And of course, the pyramids in Bosnia. But that's not all. The pyramids are not only the structures, architecture, constructions. The pyramids are much more than that. They are huge energy machines, or to be more precise, energy amplifiers. The pyramids do not make energy from nothing, but they are always located above energy potent places. And as such, they amplify existing natural energy sources like iron ore or iron plate that generates electromagnetism. Then underground water flows, if you have them on two parallel but different depths, electricity is generated between them. Then water moves, releases negative ions. Then natural magnetism. So the pyramid amplifies all these different types of energies. So the pyramids are not only about the archaeology, Egyptology, geology, no. They are number one, interdisciplinary scientific projects. Number two, energy aspects, very important. Number three, spiritual aspect. And number four, healing aspect. Only through those four aspects we can finally realize what was the true purpose of pyramids. And yes, they were built by more advanced civilizations than ours.
Well, that's quite incredible, isn't it, champs? Pyramids across the globe, possibly built before the end of the last ice age. Could this really mean there are yet more undiscovered pyramids in Antarctica? If the recent finds were excavated, would they reveal ancient secrets of civilizations long forgotten? Will we ever be allowed to find out the truth and what is really going on in Antarctica? Does this find tie in with past episodes of the Antarctic Civilization files? Maybe the Nazis knew of the structures that existed and wanted to harness their power. Good evening, YouTube. This is Brave Council, and welcome to part 6 of the Antarctica Civilization series. In parts 1 to 5, we have looked at incredible structures across the continent, considered fantastic claims of Nazi and US involvement on the continent before and after World War II. And finally, we have linked amazing pyramids around the world to an ancient civilization that may have once existed on the continent. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe. But with that being said, let's get straight into part 6. So, we've discussed much of the awe-inspiring history of Antarctica over the last few episodes, but in this edition I want to bring us bang up to date with some recent mind-blowing finds discovered across the continent, relating them to current amazing theories of what may be going on to this day. Firstly, we move to the Sun newspaper's headline that UFO hunters have discovered what looks to be a UFO near the South Pole. Okay guys, so we move to the Sun's headline: Antarctic UFO hunters spot alien ship hidden in a cave near the South Pole. The article goes on to detail that Secure Team 10, a YouTube-based channel, has discovered what appears to be a disc-like shape, totally unnatural shape, in the South Pole. Now, this particular article, the pictures are particularly poor, so what I wanted to do was investigate for ourselves. Let's look at this article in more detail by visiting the site using Google Maps. Okay champs, so we move from home base in the United Kingdom and take a trip to the bottom of the world and near to the coast of Antarctica, an area I have always thought would be the most likely to house any bases. Who they belong to, I cannot say, but this find is quite incredible. very difficult to spot initially, this find seems to show a totally unnatural disc-like shape. Could this be the evidence for UFOs we've been looking for? The edges appear to be sharp and perfectly formed. What could be the origins of this craft? Alien or possibly man-made? Let me know in the comments what you think. So I'm really struggling to understand this one, guys. The fantastic imagery appears to show a disc-like craft partially hidden in some sort of cave or opening. I will put the coordinates in the description below along with the original article for you to investigate yourselves. As if this wasn't enough, we now continue our tour to the opposite coast and another bizarre discovery. This time we appear to be over the ice sheet, but just as before, an almost perfect disc shape, again partially obscured, as if taking shelter or trying to stay hidden. The shadow cast by this object, totally out of place in its surroundings, once again raises the question, what the hell is going on in Antarctica? Next, we move on to the bizarre expedition undertaken by former Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin to the continent. Initially said to be going for a visit to see the amazing continent for himself, he was rushed from the continent to hospital. This was followed up by an incredible tweet alongside pictures of the supposed pyramid-shaped cliff with the words, "We are all in danger. It is evil itself." Luckily, Aldrin recovered quickly, but the tweet disappeared and can no longer be viewed. Now, some have commented that the Aldrin tweets may have been faked. However, as mentioned in other episodes of the Antarctic Civilization Files, what cannot be denied are the more and more numerous visits to the Antarctic by some of the world's most influential people. John Kerry and the Patriarch of the Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill. What is going on here, guys? So finally, guys, we move to an article from the Daily Mirror. Massive object hidden under Antarctic ice could be a secret Nazi UFO base, conspiracy theorists claim. Now, I think this fits in really well with one of our earlier episodes, guys, where we discovered that Hitler may have set up a base during and after the Second World War. We move down to the bottom of the article and we can see imagery from NASA indicating an area within the Antarctica of massive gravitational pull. This has been shown in NASA's satellite imagery, and no one can quite understand the reasons why there is this huge area of gravitational pull. Well, these findings just keep coming, don't they, champs? Whether it be ancient accounts of a civilization that may have once spanned the globe, expeditions undertaken during World War II, or modern day findings, the evidence for fascinating, unexplained mysteries continues to grow. I can't wait for more news from this now cold, unforgiving part of the world. I will be sure to be the first to report new findings as they arrive. If you enjoyed this video, why not check out other videos on the channel and stay tuned for more. Good evening, YouTube. This is Brave Counsel, and tonight we'll be exploring the extraordinary visit by former Nazi SS officer and the first director of NASA, Wernher von Braun, to Antarctica. We will discuss von Braun's bizarre history, his obsession with Antarctica, and its use for space exploration and even space-based weapons. If you enjoy this episode, please like, share and subscribe. But with that being said, let's first explore the amazing testimony of the sixth man on the moon, Edgar Mitchell, and his views on UFOs and extraterrestrials.
We're not alone, and have for many, many years, even though, but at the time I went to the moon, it was the conventional wisdom, both in science and theology, that we were alone in the universe. We're just barely out of the trees, even though we think we're rather sophisticated. Because of my openness to these things, I did have many of the old-timers in the military and in the intelligence community over the years wanting to get it off their chest before they passed away, allowed me to interview them and talk to them about it. And so my ideas became fairly well solidified in the fact we've been visited. The President Truman at that time convened a very high-level committee to examine this alien or UFO phenomenon. They did come to the conclusion that it was alien, and the military rightly came to the conclusion, if they're hostile, there's nothing we can do about it. Therefore, their choice was to deny it and to hush it up and create the National Security Act of 1947, which validated that deception and covered it up and allowed the group to go underground, as it were. And we've been living with that now for 50 years. It is really the beginning of the whole cover-up, the entire denial of this phenomenon. And the addition of dismissal, disinformation, misinformation to cloak and to discourage investigation, to misinform. It's just been continuous for many, many years.
The late, great Edgar Mitchell, the all-American hero who passed away just last year. It is amazing to hear the sixth man on the moon discuss the extraterrestrial presence with such frankness and so little fear for his own personal safety. Shortly after his death, he was mentioned in the WikiLeaks emails begging John Podesta not to invest in space-based weapons and to look for zero-point energy solutions. Don't believe me? Look it up on WikiLeaks for yourself. But for as much as Mitchell was a US hero, he was in fact a mere pawn in the grand game being played at a much higher level. And the first director of NASA during the time of the Apollo missions, Wernher von Braun, brought to the US after World War II as part of Project Paperclip, the mad genius von Braun had refused to work for anyone even after the US Army threatened him with death by hanging. He said if the US wanted his help and expertise, they would work for him. People think I'm joking when I say this, but unfortunately it is true. He ruled NASA with an iron fist for over 10 years, sacking anyone who dared disagree with him, whilst portraying the public image of a nice guy, helped in part by Walt Disney, who made complimentary films about the former Waffen-SS Nazi.
Dr. Wernher von Braun. A voyage around the moon must be made in 2 phases. A rocket ship taking off from the Earth's surface will use almost all the fuel it can carry just to attain a speed great enough to balance the pull of gravity. To facilitate this refueling operation, we will establish an advanced base in the orbit, 1,000 miles above the Earth. This advanced base, or space station, will be headquarters for the final ascent to the moon. Our space satellite will have the shape of a wheel, measuring 200 feet across. Its outside rim will contain living and working quarters for a crew of 50 men. Just below the radio and radar antenna is the atomic reactor. Its heat will be used to drive a turbo generator, which supplies the station with electricity. The resulting centrifugal force will produce an artificial gravity for the men in the rim. Notice that the floors are placed so that the men stand with their heads toward the hub. The wheel is divided into 9 sections. The first section is headquarters and communications. The next section will be for Earth weather observation and prediction. Military reconnaissance experts, aided by powerful optical and radar telescopes, will observe every point on the globe as the space station makes its complete trip around the Earth every 2 hours. Next is the emergency hospital section. And then the astronomy division, where men will keep an eye on the rocket ship as it makes its trip around the moon. The rest of the space station will house calculating machines, maintenance facilities, air conditioning equipment, living quarters, and even a botanical and zoological laboratory. This entire space station will have to be prefabricated and tested on the ground.
So now we move to the bizarre visit by von Braun to Antarctica. During the summer of 1966-67, von Braun participated in a field trip to Antarctica, organised for him and several other members of the top NASA management. The goal of the field trip was to determine whether the experience gained by US scientific and technological community during the exploration of the Antarctic wastelands would be useful for the manned exploration of space. Von Braun was interested in the scientific efforts on Antarctic research stations, logistics, habitation and life support, and in using the barren Antarctic terrain like the glacial dry valleys to test the equipment that would one day be used to look for signs of life on Mars and other worlds. But do you really think this is all they were doing there? In previous episodes, we've explored how the Nazis may have run a secret base in Antarctica during World War II, how Admiral Byrd's fleet fled in terror after being attacked by UFOs, and how mysterious structures have been found on the continent. We also see that recently Antarctica has hosted mysterious visits by key world leaders, including Patriarch Kirill and John Kerry. What is going on in Antarctica, champs? Let me know in the comments what you think. Next we move to the possibility that NASA was experimenting with space-based weapons planned with the knowledge of von Braun. Were they also being tested in secret in Antarctica? And did Wernher von Braun have a change of heart in his final few years as he tried to stop the proliferation of space-based weapons?
I met the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in early '74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. Von Braun had a history of working with weapon systems and had escaped from Peenemünde to come to this country and landed as Vice President of Fairchild Industries when I had met him. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea, and about the alternatives that are available. And as practically a deathbed speech, he educated me about those concepts and who the players were in this game, why we shouldn't be putting weapons in space, why they're a dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, untestable, unworkable idea, and what the alternatives are, how we could be building a cooperative space system. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. He knew something that he was too afraid to mention. He was too afraid to talk about it. He would not tell me the details. I'm not sure that I would have absorbed them if he had told me the details or even believed him in 1974. But there was no question that that man knew, and had a need to know, I found out later. There's no doubt in my mind that Wernher von Braun knew about the extraterrestrial issue.
If you want to watch the full interviews from today's clips, they can be found in the description below. Well guys, this has been an amazing exploration of Wernher von Braun and his exploits in